In the last segment, we were talking about honoring thy father and mother, but the inverse of that is the duties that parents have to their children. And among the duties that parents have to their children, number one is to not kill them. So I figured it's a good topic to cover, talking about honoring thy father and mother, to also talk about the abortion pill situation. So tell me about the abortion pill situation first. Let's start with what is it?
Well, yes, and I'm glad glad you started the way we did, because parents and more broadly society has a right and a responsibility to protect our children from all kinds of dangers, including abortion. And the abortion pill is becoming prominent as the premier threat to the lives of unborn babies as in terms of abortion. What we're talking about with abortion pills, we used to call it RU46. Now it's got the trade name or the name mifepristone, combined with another drug called called mifepressil. Those two drugs are kind of a regimen, and collectively together they're used, called the abortion pill. But it's the first one is used to kill the baby, and it's taken by the woman. These days, mailed to people. They can take it at home. In some states, that's happening, and it's also happening illegally. The second pill is used about 48 hours later to cause the woman to expel the baby in a kind of a very violent and painful way to the mother. So it's that two-step process. And the second process is a lot of hemorrhaging and bleeding, not at all pleasant. Now, I want to point out, this is only used on a woman who is known to be pregnant. She's got to have a positive pregnancy test. That's contrasted with something else, which is not the abortion pill, and that is the morning after pill. And the biggest one that we know of is Plan B. Now, that doesn't require a prescription, doesn't require a doctor. You can get it over the counter at pharmacies. And Plan B is not an abortion pill, because it doesn't. It's supposed to work by preventing conception, preventing fertilization. So when you hear about Plan B, don't think about the abortion pill. The abortion pill is way more dangerous. It's designed and intended to take the life of a baby after that baby came into being.
Does the Plan B pill ever cause abortions? It was my understanding, and I may be wrong about this, is that the intention behind the Plan B pill is to prevent conception, but because it thins the uterine walls, that sometimes it can actually cause an abortion, even though that it's not intended to. Is that the case?
There's a lot of, yeah, that's a really good point, a really good question, Adrian, because there's a lot of discussion on that. The FDA has just changed the label, and I don't always trust the FDA,
Right.
but based on a lot of research, and some of our pro-life doctors associated with our organization have reviewed the literature and studies, and the best data available says if it works at all, and it's of all the chemical methods of birth control, it's got the lowest efficacy. If it works at all, it only works by preventing the woman from ovulating and therefore preventing conception. If the human embryo is created by fertilization, the best data available says it doesn't have any effect on preventing implantation. So the best data, and that's what all we have to go on, is that it does not prevent implantation, does not work as an early abortion. We're talking about Plan B. And again, that's contrasted with the abortion pill, mifepristone.
Thank you. Yeah, that really helps clarify things. And I saw the story from the CPAC where Abby Johnson went out there, was talking about the abortion pill, and I wanted to get your comments on what she said here about it. And it was very shocking to me. I didn't realize what exactly happened when someone took the abortion pill. So this was shocking to me. They said they're passing these babies into the toilet, fully formed babies, 12, 14, 16 weeks along in their pregnancy, possibly hemorrhaging in their bathroom, unable to get to an emergency care facility, looking in the toilet and seeing their fully formed baby floating there in the toilet. And then these women have to make a decision, right? What do I do with this fully formed baby? What do I do with this child? Do I scoop this child up out of the toilet? Do I take this child to be buried? What do I do with it? Do I flush my child down the toilet? Is that really what's happening with these pills? I was absolutely shocked to hear that this is a situation.
Yes, it is happening, and it is horrendous. It is a very ghastly method of abortion. All abortion is ghastly, whether a woman can see the results of the baby dying or not, because it's taking innocent human life. But for what she describes is reality. If you've ever seen the movie about her life called Unplanned, they have a fairly explicit scene about her taking that pill. So she knows this absolutely from firsthand, as well as working as the director of a Planned Parenthood abortion facility in Texas. Where she was involved with Planned Parenthood for 8 years, so she's well informed. And what she described as the horror that the woman goes through. What we need to also remember is just generally the danger of this method of abortion, even in the best of circumstance. Now, what she was describing, I think, is if someone is given these pills and they're taking them if a woman is given this pill, she's taking them at home without any supervision of physician. She may not know how far along she is in pregnancy, and later in pregnancies when the baby is bigger, as she's describing. But there's been a lot of studies about this, and it so happens, we're residing. I reside in Texas. I'm in Austin, Texas. Texas was the first place where the FDA tested this method of abortion in the late 90s, and then the FDA approved it in 2000. But under the best of circumstances, supervised by a physician in a hospital. And we have some studies from Europe that found this. The chemical abortion method is 4 times more dangerous than surgical abortion. 1 in 5 women, this is under the best of circumstances, has a complication, from bleeding to serious bleeding to having to have a follow-up surgical abortion because the baby didn't fully come out. I mean, it's pretty ghastly. This is not something people should be doing in their homes. Even if abortion were legal, and it's not in Texas and many other states, fortunately, but this is not something people should be doing without doctor supervision. And there are a number of risks, serious risks, in addition to the baby dying, to that woman. If she's has an ectopic pregnancy, and Adrian, that's 1 in 50 women, that's 2%. So there's a chance if she has an ectopic pregnancy, she won't know that unless she's diagnosed by a physician for that. So what happens? Well, the ectopic pregnancy can rupture, causing hemorrhaging. The baby will die, certainly, and she could bleed to death. Thinking the pain is what the pain she would experience because they tell her she's going to be pain, instead of going immediately to an emergency room to get treatment to save her life. So that's one problem. Risk of infection and sepsis. She doesn't know how long she is necessarily in pregnancy, and if it's taken later, it may not be successful. The baby remains in her, in risk of infection and sepsis, and risk of future fertility. These are all things that women taking these on their own, and even in the best of circumstances, can be at risk of.
But joining us right now is Dr. Joe Poiman. We're talking about the situation with the abortion pill, and I'm very concerned about this. I always knew, obviously we know the abortion pill causes an abortion, so it's always bad because it's killing someone, right? But I didn't realize of all the things that were involved in the abortion pill in terms of risk to the woman, risk, obviously the baby dies, but also what really kind of shocked me was the visual of saying you're giving birth to your child into the toilet, and then apparently a lot of mothers just flush human beings down the toilet into our sewer system. And that really, I don't know why, but that particular description really stuck with me. I don't know why. Dr. Joe Poiman, on that happy note, thank you for being on with us. Pick up where you were taking off, or feel free to comment on anything else that was just mentioned.
Ray, Adrian, you are offended morally and emotionally, and you should be. We all should be. Not everybody is, but we should be, because this is just desecration of a human life. And when our nation has a long history of treating the dead with great respect. The Marines say, and other branches, no one is left behind on the battlefield. Okay, we treat the remains of people, and to think that with great respect, with reverence, because they are human lives, and to think this is how our brothers and sisters who die from abortion kind of end up just flushed down into the municipal sewer system. That's just absolutely awful, and it's horrendous, and it shouldn't be going on, obviously. One thing to remember now is, how big is this problem getting? Well, for the last couple of years, the most common method of abortion, reported in states where it's legal, is this chemical abortion pill method. So it's growing. It's growing. And why is that? Well, doctors like it. Abortion providers like it. The doctor doesn't have to do an invasive procedure on a woman like a surgical abortion. So there's less for the doctor to do. They emotionally, they give these pills to the woman, this 2-day regimen, 2 or 4-day regimen. She takes the pills at home. Okay. The baby comes out not in the doctor's office, not in an abortion facility. They don't have to worry about dealing with the remains of the babies. It happens at home. So that woman is, number one, all by herself enduring this. And two, if there's a complication, they don't have to worry about it. She will go to hopefully find her way to an emergency room, and they tell her to not say you've had an abortion. Tell the emergency room staff that you've had a miscarriage, so there'll be no criminal investigation. So this is a really an underworld that has grown and proliferated. My organization tracks Texas Alliance for Life. We track these organizations that are providing them illegally, because I want to point out that Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, Oklahoma, a number of other states do have, Tennessee, do have these very strong laws that protect unborn babies from abortion throughout pregnancy. Ours went into effect a couple of months after the Supreme Court overturned Roe last summer. So babies theoretically are protected here. Legally, they are protected in a bunch of other states. So, but we do know that there's an underworld trafficking, bringing in these drugs illegally, these methods of abortion illegally into Texas and other states. There's numerous websites, and one of the most famous is this one called Aid Access. It's a physician, a Dutch physician in Holland, and she's running this website. The abortion pills get mailed to the client after she gets the credit card from India. And that takes 2 to 3 weeks. So she thinks she's not too far along to have the pills, because you're only supposed to take them up to 10 weeks of pregnancy. She may be, like Abby Johnson described, 12, 13, 14 weeks later. And then the risks to her get more horrendous. And the risk that it doesn't work, and then she has to later have a surgical abortion or infection along the way. I mean, it's getting really horrendous. What's really disgusting is that the Biden-Harris administration is promoting this in a number of ways. They're relaxing the FDA regs, such as they are, that require that only doctors can administer these, or that the doctor has to do them in person, getting rid of all those requirements, these special requirements, because even the FDA knew there were special risks associated with this. The Biden-Harris administration is cutting back on that. They are allowing and encouraging the mass pharmacies like Walgreens, CVS, and Rite Aid to make them available by prescription. It used to be only doctors could be the ones that could be in charge of this. It had to go from the manufacturer to the doctor. Now the Biden-Harris administration says every Walgreens is now an abortion facility, and Rite Aid and CVS, and that's horrendous. Now, in these states like Texas and Tennessee and others, that's not going to happen, because doing that is strictly illegal in our states. So I say CVS, Walgreens, Rite Aid, don't even try it in some of these states that have these good protective laws, and a lot of them of your listeners are in those states, but unfortunately not all.
Does that include so they don't have required telehealth? Like they don't even need any kind of prescription, or is it over the counter? How does that work exactly?
Okay, yeah, well, it wouldn't be over the counter. It would have to be with a prescription. The doctor could call in the script,
Okay,
call in the prescription, and then the pharmacist could administer them. But that's not adequate, because these really should be administered in the presence of a physician under the direct supervision of a physician, not just telemedicine, where the doctor maybe has some kind of a video chat with the woman. She's on her own. She might be hundreds of miles away, might be in a different state. That's all really risky for the woman's health, and horrendous from that psychological point of view that you described. Now, the pro-lifers are fighting back, and I want to point out that there's a massive lawsuit that has been filed in Amarillo, Texas, by an organization out of Arizona called Alliance Defending Freedom, ADF. It's a pro-life institution. It's a law firm, and they do a lot of good work. They are representing 4 pro-life organizations, medical organizations, and they filed this lawsuit called Alliance for Hippocratic Medicine versus FDA. They're alleging that all these decades since 1990, these 3+ decades, the FDA has been negligent. They have wrongfully allowed these pills to be in the marketplace, and they shouldn't have. The data didn't back up what their claims are, that they were perfectly safe. And this lawsuit is in federal court. The first hearing, is going to be in Amarillo, Texas, in 3 days on Wednesday. And there's going to be a lot of ink spilled over this one, Adrian. There's going to be a lot, and you're going to want to probably cover it. The next day, this federal judge could order the FDA to stop all use of these pills for abortions.
Oh, wow.
Amen.
Across the entire nation.
Wow.
Okay, so all eyes are on this thing, and the abortion industry is just holding its breath. So this is a big one. It's really huge, and this could be a federal judge doing something we actually really like.
Wow, I didn't even realize this was happening. I honestly hadn't even heard that this case had gone to this point and that this was even a possibility. So I'm really actually shocked you're breaking this to me live at this moment. So I'm pretty surprised and kind of joyful about it.
Your listeners are hearing it here first, right on your show.
There you go. There you go.
Catholic Drive Time.
Tito, you had a question?
And they're going to be hearing a lot more of it. It's huge.
Hi, Doctor. This is Tito Edwards. I was just curious. We understand that there's long-term effects of having abortions that contribute to a high risk of breast cancer. Are there any studies showing something similar of taking this abortion pill post-fact? After taking the...
Well, it'd be the same thing as other risks. It'd be the same as other risks from abortion. And, those studies, we were really into it. I think there's validity there, but we haven't heard much about it in the last 10 years, probably. And, as far as long-term effects and the increased risk of breast cancer. But there's so many health consequences for these women short-term that the FDA did really mess up, and they rushed it. It was politics to make abortion available to women. And why? Well, of course, because this is a falsehood, but the claim is that women need abortion in order to compete with men in society. And you look at, let's just talk about that for a minute. That's just not what we're seeing. Even as the rates of abortion have decreased across the country, the number of women in academia increased. The number of women in higher education, in colleges, many colleges, the majority of attendees are women. The majority of women in law school are women. It's getting to be that close to the majority of women in medical school are women. The trades are increasingly women. Economics, that's all on the increase. Women are in government. Women are in the increase. So even as abortion becomes less available, women are doing better in society. We don't need abortion. And the state of Texas and so many other states, Tennessee, each state is funding alternatives to abortion at $100 million in their budgets. That's huge. So there are alternatives to abortion. Women don't need it to advance in society. And let's forget, motherhood is a wonderful thing. And we wouldn't be here talking unless there was such a thing as motherhood.
Amen. Amen. And yes, this goes right back into the theme of the show today, which is honor thy father, thy mother. And rights and duties are intimately tied together. In fact, they cannot be separated. So if a kid has a duty to honor their father and mother, then a parent has a duty to give to the kids, one, and primarily their life, and secondarily, the care and nourishment that they need to survive. Dr. Joe Poiman, thank you for being on with us. Where can people keep in touch with Texas Alliance for Life and whatever's going on with y'all's programs or y'all's positions in helping y'all advance the pro-life movement?
Oh, thanks for saying that, because I think a lot of your listeners may be interested, including across the country, not just in Texas. But you can go to our website, texasallianceforlife.org, And of course, we're on Facebook and Twitter, and we love providing the information. And we think Texas is doing a really good job, and we, as are many other states. And but if you'd like to see what's going on in here in Texas from our point of view, love to have other people do that. So TexasAllianceForLife.org.
Amen. Amen. Thank you very much, Dr. Poiman, for joining us. And it is so good to hear some good news. So we'll definitely have to have you back on to talk about the results of the situation when that happens. So keep us up to date. God bless you. God love you, Dr. Poiman. Have a blessed day. And in the next hour, we're going to be talking about some more things regarding the fourth commandment. So it's a fourth commandment kind of day, an honor thy father and mother kind of day. So that's going to be more of that coming up next. But also our Fear and Trembling game show is coming up. So if you can join us, stay on. If not, we'll see you tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. Central, 7 Eastern, across the Guadalupe Radio Network. God bless you. God love you. And I'll see you on the other side.